13, number 13.
We are episode 13 off the bench. We're live. Take it away, Sean.
Hello, and welcome to Off the Bench, episode 13. I am your host, Sean Destin, and as always, I am joined by the expert analysis of Kevin Cornegay and Javon Tavares. How y'all doing, fellas?
And
Good,
bless, man.
good, good. Doing wonderful on this fabulous Thursday. See,
Thursday.
Man,
it's an even better Thursday when you don't even have to go to work the next day. So
Oh, man.
yeah, I got as much time as we need tonight, fellas. I got as much time as we need.
Gonna live vicariously through you.
Absolutely.
We can go into overtime if we need to.
We can go to OT, double OT if we need
Okay.
to.
Okay. Well, we had a great fight.
Mm.
Triple G, Canelo Alvarez, sold out T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and in a lot of ways, it lived up to the hype. There was some great action in the ring all night, but as always in boxing nowadays, in big fights, we couldn't escape some level of controversy. Of course, we had the fight ending in a draw, a controversial draw. A lot of people think Triple G won the fight. We had Judge Dave Moretti giving it 115-113 to Triple G. We had Don Trella having it scored a draw. And then we have the controversial Adelaide Bird giving it 118-110 to Canelo Alvarez. Now, fellas, I want to talk about the controversial decision. I want to talk about possible rematch. But first, I want to get to the lopsided judging of Adelaide Bird, who had 5 rounds that the other 2 judges had Triple G winning. She had Canelo winning. Bob Bennett, executive director of the Nevada Athletic Commission, came out and I quote, said, "I'm not going to put her right back in. She's going to be in the business, but she needs to catch her breath. Like any profession, you have a bad night, and unfortunately, she didn't do well. That he's going to give her a small break from big fights." Now, I've never seen the executive director of the Nevada Athletic Commission or any athletic commission come out the same night of the fight and with scorning words. Okay, he did everything but fire her immediately on the spot. He said that he's not going to put her back in, that she needs to catch her breath. A lot of people feel that she needs to catch a fade, not just a breath. Okay, this was not her first egregious decision that she's given, and I want to know. The question I want to pose first is, how did you guys feel about the fight? How did you feel about the decision? And what do you feel about Miss Bird being on the bench? And we'll talk about that later. I'm going to start with you, Javon. I know you're a huge boxing fan. This is a fight that was highly anticipated for you. I want to know what you think of the fight.
So I first want to start out by saying I didn't have the benefit of watching the fight from home or from a location where it was on a large screen, HD. I was actually on a boat, on a Sacramento party boat for a prior engagement. And so I just happened to catch the fight that was being streamed by one of the patrons on the boat. He was kind enough to share his smartphone with me. And so I didn't really get a chance to, and I think I missed the first 3 or 4 rounds. But from what I saw, it appeared that Triple G was the aggressor. It appeared that he was throwing more punches. And it appeared that he landed slightly more punches. But it seemed to me that Canelo was landing the more meaningful punches, the more eye-catching punches. Now, again, I put the caveat out there that I didn't have the benefit of watching this on a large screen. But from what I saw, and I think I know boxing well enough, it looked like Canelo was landing the more eye-catching punches, but it looks like Triple G did what he's done to many other opponents on his way to his sterling record. He simply brought the pressure, was in Canelo's face, and made it slightly uncomfortable for Canelo. And his work, his punch output and his work rate was higher, which some judges favor. But you have other judges that favor clean, effective punching. So no matter how much pressuring an opponent does, if they're not landing the cleaner, more eye-catching, effective power punches, then those judges won't score for that individual. So I think when you take a look at the three scorecards, you had two scorecards that were within a point or two of each other. That's standard, that's commonplace for boxing judges. And then you had the departure, which was Adelaide Bird's scorecard, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But if we split the first four rounds, and that's what two of the judges did, and I'm going by Harold Letterman's card, who has really fallen off, fellas. I just want to take the time to say that Harold Letterman has fallen off. He never was the greatest judge in my eyes,
Right.
but the last 3 or 4 fights that I've watched, Harold Letterman's scorecards have been bogus. There was one point in the fight where he had Triple G winning 6 rounds, 5 or 6 rounds in a row. And anyone who watched that fight, I don't think we could say that either fighter won 5 or 6 rounds in a row. But I digress. So if we split the first 4 rounds, which I didn't see, I didn't have the benefit of seeing that, from round 5 on to 12, it would have appeared that Triple G, in my mind, at least won at least 5 of those rounds. At least 5 of those rounds. So if you split the first 4 rounds and give Triple G 2 of those, then that's how I arrived at my scorecard, which had Triple G winning 7 rounds, which would have come out to a 115, 113 score. So that's how I saw it from the limited vantage point that I had. However, I don't necessarily have a problem with the draw because, again, judges are looking for different things. Triple G was the stalker. He did what he's done. Canelo is a natural counterpuncher, but he's also an effective body puncher. He has an effective jab. He has more of an offense than your typical counterpuncher that just waits for you to punch so he can counter you. However, you could see that Triple G's pressure was starting to mentally wear on Canelo. Canelo would start the round out. He would throw good combinations, land some good shots. Triple G kept coming. And Canelo would back himself to the ropes, looking to counter. And those big counter opportunities never really presented themselves because Triple G was active, throwing his punches, and he had good enough defense to really prevent from getting rocked with something big from Canelo. So from my vantage point, I had it 115, 113 for Triple G. I'll go back and watch the fight this weekend, this time from the confines of my own home, and I'll have a chance to really reevaluate. But
Okay.
I had it 115, 113. I don't have a problem if someone saw it as a draw. But Adelaide Bird, oh, Lordy, Adelaide Bird. So this isn't the first time that Adelaide Bird has had a suspect scorecard.
Sure isn't.
And fellas, you know what that means? You know what
What does
that
it mean?
means? Let's
wanna
come
know.
out and be 100% honest, because that's what we do on Off the Bench. What that
That's what we
means
do.
is you usually have a judge that can be bought. That judge has been bought before, and that judge was bought during this fight. Now, Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy will come out and say, oh, well, it was a wide scorecard. You know, it was a draw. We're going to go ahead and do it again. We're going to re-up. It was a great fight by all accounts. So a rematch is warranted. But let's be clear here. Adelaide Bird is the judge that you can buy. She's proven it in the past. There's no way a 118, 110 scorecard is plausible, feasible, or anything else. So Adelaide Bird got bought. She's been bought in the past, and the director is putting her on timeout right now. So we're going to put you on timeout, Adelaide, until it's time for you to be bought again for another major fight. So that's my take on it.
Okay, I'm gonna go into my Harold Letterman. Okay, so Javon Morris has a 115, 113. Look, Triple G controlled the rounds, and he's just stalking them down and walking them down. That's what Triple G always does. Now, Kevin, I want to know, how did you have the fight? Who do you have ahead, and what do you feel about Adelaide Bird?
By the way, I don't appreciate Javon taking a shot at my guy Harold Letterman, but he is getting long in the tooth. But let me start with this. The only winner, somebody did win Saturday night. It was Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez.
Absolutely.
They won because Canelo lost the fight. So number one, they're going to get the rematch. So that's going to be more money in their pockets. Number two, Canelo didn't get knocked out. He went 12 rounds, and he wasn't close to being knocked out. So Triple G's power was nullified. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is you get the rematch fight on Cinco de Mayo. Triple G, I had the score 115, 113, 7 rounds to 5. I thought Canelo
For Triple G?
For Triple G.
Okay.
115, 113. I thought that Canelo won the first 3 rounds. Triple G, butterflies, a little nervous, his first mega fight. And you saw that come into play. And quite frankly, Canelo was strong through the first 4 to 5 rounds. I think the extra weight took a toll on him. I think Triple G's adjustment, where he was really pumping that jab, really pumping the jab, and he started to box a little bit. He wasn't throwing just the haymakers because he figured out quickly he couldn't catch up with Canelo with the haymakers. So he says, let me just continue to pump the jab. Let me box. There's a little bit of counterpunching in there too by Triple G.
Absolutely.
So they fought in the middle of the ring for the first 3 to 4 rounds. When Canelo started to tire, he started back up against the ropes. I believe that Canelo felt Triple G's power wasn't enough to knock him out. So he said, I can go to the ropes a little bit more throughout the fight. I thought the middle rounds from round 4 to 10, I thought Triple G won every round. I just felt that way. I felt that probably about 3 of those rounds he dominated, and then the rest of them, he just scored enough points to be able to get the round. Triple G really impressed me with the way that he boxed. And that's what he had to do in this fight. It became apparent that he wasn't going to get the knockout. Okay. So he switched up strategy a little bit. I was disappointed Triple G didn't go to the body a little bit more. He's a devastating body puncher. He didn't go there, but I think some of his inexperience in being in a mega fight, I thought his corner a little bit inexperienced in a mega fight as well. I wanted to see more from his corner. Go to the body more. But I was really impressed with his punch output. We're never going to be disappointed in output. He's going to throw punches. I think that in the end, Canelo's trainer said, we need these last 3 rounds. And Canelo in round 10, I still thought that went to Triple G. But in round 11 and 12, the championship rounds, Canelo was able to win those rounds. Yeah, he was able to win those rounds. And quite frankly, I thought he dominated round 11 and round 12. But I had 115, 113 Triple G. Great fight. Tremendous fight. The rematch, I think Canelo, Triple G would have had that big fight experience under his belt, so I think he'll come out a little bit faster in the second fight. But I see another 12-round war between these two coming up on Cinco de Mayo. As far as Vegas, this is what I worry about with Vegas getting
the Raiders.
Right. Getting these pro teams is the ability for the wise guys to be able to come in and have a heavy influence in what goes on in Vegas. And to be able to buy a judge, to be able to pay a player off to take a dive, you know, whether home or on the road. That's something that I worry about. Remember, the Vegas team, you know, back in the early 90s, Tark's boys, Larry Johnson and Greg Anthony and those boys, you had boosters, you had wise guys in the pools, in the hot tub with these guys. And you only get this in Vegas. So that's what I worry about. But in the end, I'm glad that Triple G, I'm a Triple G fan. I'm a huge, that's my favorite fighter right now. So I want to get that out there. I'm glad that he was able to retain the belts. And I thought that he showed well in that fight. And a big shout out to Canelo as well. Canelo hit Triple G with some bombs. I mean, some bombs in that fight. And Triple G's chin, we learned a lot about his chin because he was walking through some of those bombs. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. So great fight. Disappointing finish.
I'm going to touch on it real quick before we get into our next segment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I agree with the 115, 113. I agree. I had the exact scorecard that Kevin had. But I don't think it was attributable to Triple G shying away from the moment. I'm going to credit Canelo Alvarez and his defense early and his crisp boxing early. I think both fighters gained a level of respect for one another. I think Gennady learned that Canelo was a better boxer than he thought. And I think that Canelo learned that Triple G was even stronger than he had heard. The early rounds, he really had trouble finding the range. He was timid at times. He respected Canelo maybe a little too much at times. But once he was able to find his range from the 4th round to the 10th round, he literally walked through Canelo's shots. Canelo was breathing through his mouth by the 4th round.
Right.
By the 6th round, he looked a little gassed. Gennady hit him with some pretty big shots. He rocked him with one near the end of a round, and it stifled Canelo's aggression for the next several rounds. Once he heard that he was down and that he needed to come back, rounds 10 through 12, I thought he had enough activity to stave off Gennady and then maybe outpoint him in the last couple of rounds. But I really, when you talk about ring generalship, controlling the ring, effective punches, Gennady Golovkin hit him with the harder punches down, the more meaningful punches for me in the middle to late middle of the fight, and really controlled the pace of the fight as a result of Canelo having to respect his power, and it was compounded by the fact that he was a little gassed. So we'll move on to another Hall of Fame boxer, a sure first ballot Hall of Fame boxer, Andre Ward, who shocked the boxing community and the sports community this morning by announcing his retirement at age 33. Okay, this is Son of God, SOG, from Oakland, California. This is a 32-0, 16 knockout. This is a gold medalist, Summer Olympics of 04 in Athens. This is a guy that was 2011 Fighter of the Year by the Ring and the Boxing Writers Association of America. This guy retired holding the WBA, IBF, and WBO light heavyweight championship after probably his most impressive victory over Sergey Kovalev, 8th round TKO after a controversial first fight, which a lot of people thought Ward may have lost. Okay, he cites his reasons as his body could no longer take the rigors of training for professional fights. He commented on, when the lights come on, that's all you see, but you don't know from, this guy hasn't lost since he was a 12-year-old amateur, fellas. This is a guy that is a true student of boxing, student of the game, an intelligent fighter in and outside of the ring, considered the best pound for pound fighter as he retires today. And, he felt that his body broke down to the point and it took so much out of him that he lost the desire to fight. So I want to know, as we reflect on Andre Ward's career, I'm going to start with you, Kevin. Tell me what your feelings are of Ward as an all-time great, and where would you rank him?
I would rank him top 10 all time, pound for pound. Fellas, I'm going to be honest. I wish I would have paid more attention to this guy's career than what I actually did. I don't completely think that's all my fault. I mean, HBO, I don't know if they did the greatest job in promoting this guy's fights, but a local guy from the town, Oakland, California, it's only about 20 miles from where I'm sitting right now. I wish I would have paid more attention to his career. The fights that I did watch, he was a tactician in the ring, also able to go toe-to-toe with the guy. 16 career knockouts, I believe. But I just wish that I would have enjoyed it. This is a career that we should have been talking similar to a guy like a Floyd Mayweather, another guy that's unblemished. But obviously, Andre Ward is cerebral, a humble guy. He's not a look at me guy. I'm not too familiar with his promotions and how his promoting was going when he did have a big fight. That's something that you guys will definitely have to school me on. But I wish I would have paid more attention. The light heavyweight division, since Roy Jones had left it, had a lot to be desired for. But when this guy came up, he had some incredible fights. And he's a guy that I would put in my top 10. I would love to have seen him fight, 4 to 5 more times so I could really be able to pay attention to him. But good luck to him. I mean, a lot of times you'll see him at the Golden State Warrior games, being from the town. Obviously, Steph Curry sent out a tweet regarding Andre Ward, congratulating his career, things of that nature. So I'm disappointed that I didn't pay more attention to his career. And, I'll pass that off to you guys to tell me what you guys thought about his career.
Well, you actually underscored really a very good point. I think without even trying, and like you were saying, you don't think that not seeing him as much or maybe not paying attention as much, you don't know if it was attributable to just you not being as into it, or was it lack of promotions? And he had a tumultuous relationship with his promoters and his handlers, and between 2013 and 2015, I don't think he fought one time because of contractual disputes with the promotions. And so I think that's a byproduct. I think what you're saying is a byproduct, especially as a boxing fan, as a sports fan, when it doesn't reach you that way and it's not promoted that way to where you're even, it resonates with you to the point where, you're intrigued to watch that fighter. I think that does partially play on the promotions. And he wasn't like a super over the top, charismatic soundbite type of guy. So right. With moving on to you, Javon, I need you to tell me, how you felt about Andre Ward and his career, where he fits as an all-time great, and where do you rank him?
So first I want to disagree with your take on Andre Ward not being a super charismatic guy. I think he wasn't Clubber Lang by no stretch of the imagination. Right. But Andre Ward, very charismatic guy, very well-spoken guy, very articulate, not very controversial.
I agree with that.
But very, very poignant in the things that he said. Was a student of the game, and I think we really got a sense of how well-spoken and how articulate he was when he joined the HBO boxing commentating team. So yeah, I gained some additional respect for Andre Ward there. I always had tons of respect for him as a fighter. He's always been one of my favorite fighters. Now, I happen to be the guy that gets compared to every light-skinned guy that has curly hair that's ever lived. It's funny because when Andre Ward had the bald head for most of his career, people didn't say I resembled Andre Ward, and then he grows his hair out and it's curly, and now all of a sudden this guy's my twin and everything else. So, I don't know. I've been everybody from Raheem from Juice to Andre Ward. So, anyways, I digress. But Andre Ward is in my personal top 10. I think when you take a look at the trajectory of his boxing career, going all the way back to the amateur ranks, up through his final 2 fights at light heavyweight, I think Andre Ward is truly one of the all-time greats. He'll end with a 32-0 record, which won't rival some of the greater records of all time at that particular weight class. But Andre Ward did something that very few people can say they've done. He's won a gold medal for the United States of America. Name the last American boxer that has won a gold medal. You can't. You can't name the
Sugar
last
Ray Leonard.
American boxer.
Oscar De La Hoya.
Oscar De La Hoya. That was back in 1992, my brother.
Right.
You take a look at Floyd Money Mayweather. Even when he was in Atlanta, 1996, he got robbed, won a bronze medal. Roy Jones Jr. got robbed, ended up, getting a silver medal. So the trajectory of amateur American boxing hasn't been what it was, partly due to the proliferation of the National Football League, the NBA, Major League Baseball. Yes, I just said that, Major League Baseball. There's more brothers playing Major League Baseball than there are probably world-class boxers out there. And part of that was due to the decline of popularity within boxing. Boxing used to come on Wide World of Sports. It used to come on HBO, and these matches were huge. They were gargantuan matches. So again, Andre Ward won a gold medal for America. And then he did something to me that was one of the most impressive things that I've seen in watching boxing over the past 15, 20 years. He fought in a super middleweight tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this super middleweight tournament it didn't get a lot of attention because it's right around the time. Yeah, right around the time that Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, and it was the end of Oscar De La Hoya's reign as pay-per-view king. Right around that time, most of the attention was focused on that weight division, 147, 154. But right around that time, there was a super middleweight tournament at 168 pounds that featured Andre Ward. You had a great fighters out of Europe. There's a fighter named Mikkel Kessler, who was a great fighter. A fighter from England named Arthur Abraham. There was an American middleweight named Andre Durrell. Jermaine Taylor, and you guys remember him from his 2 great fights with Bernard Hopkins, and one of the last individuals outside of Terrence Bud Crawford that unified all the belts at the middleweight division. But those are some of the guys that were in that tournament. Now you're talking about stiff competition. Most casual boxing fans can't relate or identify to those names, but those names were quality opponents. And I'll even go above that and say they were beyond quality. A couple of those guys were great fighters, particularly Mikkel Kessler. Mikkel Kessler was a great fighter. Arthur Abraham, a strong fighter. So he won that tournament easily. He won that tournament easily. And so part of the reason they put that tournament together was to see who was the best at that weight class.
Right.
And Andre Ward clearly was the best. So when he came out of that tournament, now he's eliminated all the best fighters at 168. Now it's time for another challenge. Let me go up to 175. So happened to work out great because at 175, you had fighters like Bernard Hopkins. You had the great Sergey Kovalev, the Crusher, who was destroying people, and you also had a guy that was out of the Crunk Gym, Adonis Superman Stevenson, who fights over on HBO. Now, this guy doesn't necessarily fight top flight competition, but he has great power and had a belt. So his defining victories will be those 2 victories against Sergey the Crusher Kovalev, a guy that many thought was unbeatable. They didn't think that Andre would be able to step up in weight against a naturally bigger man with that type of punching power. And regardless of what those may feel of the result of the first fight, I had Andre Ward on my scorecard losing that fight, 115-113. But in the rematch, I predicted that Andre Ward would win because he had come through the fire in that, I believe it was second or third round when he got knocked down against Sergey, and Sergey was really controlling the action and dominating the match with his power. Andre figured him out, dug down, found the intestinal fortitude to make the adjustments, and he started fighting a different fight that put pressure on Sergey. Sergey didn't like the body shots he was giving him, and Sergey didn't like the fact that Andre was now roughing him up when that's what Sergey wanted to do to Andre. So in the next fight, you saw what the result was. It was still a close fight. Make no mistake. Even though Andre Ward got the knockout, Sergey the Crusher Kovalev was still in that fight. It was a very close fight. That was based on the scorecards, but the true narrative of the fight saw Andre Ward breaking this guy down to the body. And you could see that Kovalev wasn't going to be able to take it, considering the fact that he wasn't in the greatest condition. I don't know what it is about him and guys like McGregor. These are great fighters, but some guys just don't have that epic endurance. So with all that said, Andre Ward had a great career. He's 33 years old. Who is there really left for him to fight at 168 or 175? He could try to get a fight with Adonis Stevenson, but Adonis Stevenson hasn't proven that he's wanted to fight a world-class opponent. He's happy doing what he's doing over in HBO. Could we get Triple G to come up to 175 from 160? That would be a big money fight that everyone would love to see. But Triple G is simply too small for Andre Ward. So Andre Ward would break him down. I mean, Kovalev Crusher, or the Crusher Kovalev, is a bigger version of Triple G. And we saw what Andre Ward did to him. So much respect, much props to Andre Ward. He was one of my favorite fighters. And we'll miss him, but I'm glad he's getting out earlier rather than later. Andre Ward is the type of guy that can do anything he sets his mind to. And so I'm hoping that he does that. And I can say one thing, he represented the town well. So best of luck to you and your career, Andre.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Best of luck, Andre Ward, on the next segment as you transition into a new career. As an analyst, you're going to do an excellent job. Articulate, smart, historian, and a guy that was great both in and outside of the ring.
Absolutely.
And I think he deserves more credit for that. And a lot of guys that have marred the sport outside of the ring. He did it with integrity and he did it with class. He's an all-time great. He doesn't quite crack my top 10. When I think of classic middleweights, light heavyweights, he doesn't quite crack my top 10, but a great fighter nonetheless. Our next segment, a guy that has had no shortage of attention and notoriety in the last year and a half, none other than Mr. Kevin Durant. Are you in my top 5, KD? Okay. Kevin Durant in the news again. This time twice in the same news. He's impersonating himself. I don't know what's going on. He's on Twitter Sunday. We have a fan. Now, we know Kevin Durant loves to engage with his fans. It's one of the great things about him. He talks to his fans. He doesn't mind getting into nice, heated debates at times. And we have a guy on Sunday asking Kevin Durant, hey, Give me one legitimate reason for leaving OKC other than getting a championship. Now, normally a guy responds back with the same Twitter handle that he just was asked in. However, it was perceived that allegedly Kevin Durant had another Twitter account that he likes to respond to trollers with, to where he can really lay in and say a lot of the things that are on his mind. Now, Kevin Durant has vehemently denied the fact that there was a second unknown secret Twitter that it was just on his other Twitter. Let me give you a couple of things that he said while he was using his KD5 trade Twitter handle. He was saying, hey, he didn't like the organization or playing for Billy Donovan, that he says, that he couldn't have won a championship with those cats. It was just him and Russ. I'm not going to disagree with any of those things. However, it really looks bad, obviously, as a guy who acted like he took the high road when he left OKC, that he didn't have a problem with any of these guys. Come to find out, he's referring to them as these cats, and, he didn't like the organization, and he didn't like playing for Billy Donovan. Now, all of that I'm actually okay with. What I'm not okay with is the over-the-top apologetic gesture saying that he couldn't eat or sleep for the next couple of days, that he took it harder than everybody. Okay, I'm not buying it. I need to know, do you guys believe that he couldn't eat or sleep? And what's your take on this whole multiple Twitter thing? I'm going to start with you, Kev.
I actually bought the fact that he couldn't eat or sleep the last couple of days. Let me tell you why. And I heard, who was this? Max Kellerman on the first take. I saw a clip. He's right. Kevin Durant got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And when you get caught red-handed, depending on what it is, you might not sleep for a couple of days. It's that embarrassing. It is that humiliating. Here's the thing with Kevin Durant. He's 28 years old, going on 29. Still young, still immature. I mean, I didn't mature until my 30s, and I'm 38 now. So he's still young, still immature. He's very sensitive. He's insecure. He's probably one of the most sensitive ball players, because he's going to the Hall of Fame. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. He's the second best player in the world right now. Got his championship. He earned the championship. But he's very sensitive, and he still hears the talk of the criticism of him going to Golden State, and that's still bothering him. There was something else that I read. He makes the decision to go to Golden State, and he calls his business partner.
Oh gosh!
And chews him out for allowing him to choose to go to Golden State. Like, he's blaming him. How could you let me ruin my career by picking to go to Golden State? This is what he's telling to his business partner. Obviously, KD is a people pleaser. He doesn't want people talking bad about him. He has not figured out a way yet he hasn't figured out. Understand, 50% of the people are going to like you no matter what you do. 50% of the people are not going to like you no matter what you do. That's just the percentages. I think he's also regretting the way that he left Russell Westbrook. Mm-hmm. He loves Russell Westbrook. And he's still fighting with himself, KD is, knowing that he should have gave him a call. He should have sat down with him over lunch or dinner and talked to him. LeBron James did. People are saying that he never told Dwayne Wade. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, they were back on a plane flight back to Miami. And he let him know right then and there he's probably going back to Cleveland. They had that conversation.
Kev, did he call Dwayne Wade and tell him that he's probably going to be leaving Cleveland again to go to LA? You think he did that?
Probably. Okay. Probably.
I was being facetious.
Oh, I know you're trying to be funny, but yet no, he probably has told his inner circle. D Wade probably knows that this is LeBron's last year in Cleveland.
Yeah, and it'll probably somehow get leaked mysteriously out to the public.
See, are we taking shots at LeBron again?
Typical LeBron. It'll get leaked out to the public, his conversation with Dwayne Wade. But I'm sorry for interrupting you, Kev.
No, absolutely. I know KD is your guy, and I understand that, and that's okay. But at the same time, you know, we're in a situation here where Kevin Durant won. He won. He made the right decision. He made the right basketball decision. He made the right life decision. Okay, he wanted to live in the Bay Area. He wanted to be close to Silicon Valley so he can start his thing with these businesses in Silicon Valley. Okay, he wanted to play with Steph Curry. And speaking of Steph Curry, at some point, he will have to mature quickly, because to follow up on the immaturity thing, he blasts Under Armour, which is his number one teammates. He's the pitch man for that company.
Nobody wants to wear Under Armour shoes.
Yeah, so why would you? The awareness. Okay, I'm on the Warriors still. I play with Steph Curry. That's my number one teammate. Him or Draymond. Those are my number one teammates. Why am I going to go at Steph Curry's signature shoe company? We start training camp in 3 weeks. And there was another report that came out.
We all know that Under Armour shoes are terrible, man. The Steph Curry shoes are horrible. Listen, he's employed by Nike. Threes. He's employed by Nike. He has a $200 million contract with Nike. Steph Curry has a deal with Under Armour. Is that going to be a dividing point with teammates that are winning championships? Hey, you know, I say something about the company that you're employed by, you're getting paid millions of dollars by. I mean, at what point are we just too sensitive to every single thing that happens in the world? Steph Curry knows that Under Armours are trash. He knows they're garbage. He knows it himself.
Steph Curry has to answer 5 or 6 questions regarding his teammate slamming the shoes that he pitches for. So he has an additional 6 questions to answer. And Steph
Steph Curry didn't have a problem chiming in last year when the questions about the breakup between Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, when that was happening, and going back to Oakland and those guys, or going back to OKC and those guys wearing the cupcake shirts and stuff like that, he didn't have problems answering those questions.
He was backing a teammate. He was backing his teammate. He was backing his teammate. Kevin Durant should have said with the Under Armours, the Under Armour, there wasn't nothing until Steph Curry started pitching their product. That's how you answer that question.
Kevin, let's not ask like when Steph Curry's shoes were doing well, when Under Armour stock started going up, and he was taking jabs at LeBron about Nike versus Under Armour. And how his shoes were selling more than Nikes. Let's not act like these guys aren't, having to be sponsors and be ambassadors of their brand. And let's not act like Kevin Durant is some kind of saint or great teammate. Kevin Durant has a chip on his shoulder, always has. That's the reason why he's such a great player too. But he's a smack talker. Okay,
you're a great
let's not act like he's not. He's a great teammate to a certain extent.
If you're a great teammate, like Steph Curry is, if you're a great teammate, you don't go at your teammate's shoe company in season or off season. If you're a great teammate, if you play with a guy, there's only 15 of those guys in the locker room. You don't publicly go at that guy's shoe company. I don't see Steph going at Klay Thompson's shoe company. He signed with some company in China. He's not going. If Steph Curry's such a great
teammate, why hasn't he got Kevin Durant a better barber?
I'm gonna leave that one alone. Oh man,
listen,
Javante.
and you wonder why he has fake Twitter handles to deal with comments like that. As true as it may be, you wonder why he's got a fake Twitter handle.
Javon, are you worried about?
What is your take on this, Javon? I mean, I know that's your guy. I mean, you're co-signing. You're buying this double Twitter life. You're buying this guy being divided amongst himself.
Javon,
are you buying this guy slandering the previous organization that got him an MVP, that got him in the finals, that rose him to the national spotlight in a small market? Are you buying this guy slandering the organization and his former teammates?
Hey, and also, is this guy soft mentally? I need this question answered. Is this guy mentally soft?
Is he cupcakes?
All right. So I'll start first back with the original question from Sean. Now, you guys know me. You've known me for years. I may be a bunch of things, but one thing I'm not is a guy that's not going to stand on my principles, no matter who's involved. Now, Kev and Sean, from what you know of me, your brother, do you think I condone what Kevin Durant has done?
No way.
Absolutely not.
You guys are correct. You're absolutely correct. I don't condone what Kevin Durant has done. I don't. Quite simply, as you said, Kevin, and as you mentioned, Sean, this guy is sensitive. He's a tad bit insecure. And I think you even dug further, Kev, and said something that is probably the most poignant point that we've heard on this topic. He is a people pleaser. Anytime you have a person that is a people pleaser, he or she will always be impacted by what people think. There is a reason why Michael Jordan is the gold standard when it comes to all-time greatest competitor. You know why? Mike didn't care what his teammates thought. He didn't care what his coaches thought. He didn't care what his competitors thought. The most important thing to him was winning. And he didn't care who he had to crush and step on to get there. You can ask Bill Cartwright about that. Bill Cartwright had to threaten to pull the burner out on that man if he didn't stop disrespecting him. And you guys know what I mean. Bill Cartwright was one step away from pulling the Draco out on Jordan and letting him know what time it was. So there's a reason why guys like Michael Jordan have been successful the way they have been. Now, Magic Johnson. We all saw the Boston versus LA 30 for 30 on ESPN. We saw that. Magic Johnson is a guy that wanted people to like him. He's a guy, it killed him when his teammates didn't appreciate the fact that he was hanging out with Dr. Buss and was getting preferential treatment. That killed Magic Johnson. No matter how tough he tried to portray himself, that bothered him because Magic is a people pleaser. Kevin Durant is from the same mold. Now, Magic is more cold-blooded than Kevin Durant. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
Magic is more cold-blooded than Kevin Durant. He may be a little mentally tougher.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
He may be a little mentally tougher, but I'll get to that point as I close this out. But I don't support what Kevin Durant did. There's no way you should be stooping down to that level to defend yourself against those individuals in the Twitterverse. You are a celebrity. You're a professional basketball player. There's going to be a certain amount of criticism that comes with your job. There's going to be a certain amount of criticism that comes with your game. And there's going to be a certain amount of criticism that comes with your decision to play for any team other than the team that drafted you, Oklahoma City Thunder. It was absolutely wrong for him to say that he didn't like the organization and that he didn't like playing for Billy Donovan. Even if that was the case, Billy Donovan was a first-year coach the first year that he coached you. He was a coach that was transitioning from the University of Florida. So Billy Donovan wasn't the one that got Scotty Brooks fired. That wasn't his fault. He just came in and he tried to do the best that he could. And so the same organization that you're criticizing is the same organization that you're damn near on TV crying over, saying, I just love the people of Oklahoma City and they're like family and the organization has been A1. But then you say what you said. So
Javon,
unlike Sean, I have a problem with what Kevin Durant said.
Let me ask both of you guys.
I don't have a problem with what he said about his other teammates outside of Russ, because we know that's true. We Andre Roberson. Andre Roberson.
That's all I'm saying.
That was in the starting lineup.
Let me ask both of y'all this question. Both of y'all. Is there anything OKC could have done to have kept Kevin Durant?
Yeah, they could have paid James Harden. They could have kept a nucleus of young players under contract of 3 great players. You had enough with those 3. They lost to a great Heat team, but they were young. They could have competed the next 5-6 years with that nucleus. James Harden moves to a starter. The next year, you have Russ and Harden in the backcourt with Durant. You put a couple of complementary pieces. People are willing to go there for
oh my gosh,
for the veteran minimum. Yes, they could have done it. You could have done it. Hemorrhage your pockets like the trend is now anyway. Right. You're doing it for these other players. You're renting Paul George. Now you get it. You could have gotten it then. You could have been proactive instead of reactive. And Presti could have pulled the trigger and definitely kept Harden there. It kept the nucleus of young players that had camaraderie. You had the UCLA dynamic with Russ and Harden. You had KD as kind of the veteran who loved playing with these 2 young bulls. Absolutely, you could have done something. What do you think, Javon?
Now, in Sam Presti's defense, the current NBA climate didn't exist at that time. It was on its way to existing. It was a couple years away from existing, but the money was flowing in the NBA, but it wasn't flowing like it has over the past couple years. So that's in Sam Presti's defense. But as you mentioned, they in essence had to choose between Serge Ibaka and James Harden, and they chose Serge Ibaka, and they chose wrong.
Brilliant.
Terrible.
To go back to your final question, Kev. You asked me if Kevin Durant was mentally soft. I don't think he's mentally soft. I don't think that you can overcome the amount of scrutiny that he faced when he made his move. I don't think that you can perform the way that he performed for the Golden State Warriors, clearly being their best player throughout the season, and then in the finals against the best player in the world, LeBron James. I don't think you can perform at that level and be mentally soft. I just think he's sensitive. And listen, Jay-Z says sensitive thugs, they all need hugs. I get it. But not all of us are tough guys. Not all of us are out of tune with our emotions. And Kevin Durant is a guy that's sensitive. You know, it used to be seen as a weakness back in the 80s and 70s and 60s, but now it's commonplace. So Kevin Durant,
he's on Twitter with all those emo millennials. Okay.
well, he absolutely, and I think you just said, to me, what he did was no different than someone that goes on a Twitter rant about whatever.
Before we switch,
or when guys are going back and forth about whatever.
Sean, before you switch, the topic. There's a report that came out. The Warriors are concerned, or they're perplexed about Kevin Durant's offseason, the new shoes and all of that. What do you guys think about that? Is this going to be a problem in training camp?
Fake news.
I don't think it's going to be a problem in training camp. I mean, winning is the greatest elixir. I mean, you have a group of guys that have great cohesion. They really like playing with each other. You know, and let's they play with Draymond Green, man.
Come on, man. Come on.
This stuff is small potatoes, man, compared to the stuff that comes out of Draymond Green's mouth. Draymond Green is over here getting Magic Johnson subpoenaed in the court, okay? Over talking on Twitter, and we're talking about Kevin Durant. And they're subpoenaing Magic Johnson because of Draymond Green's Twitter remarks. Okay? So no, I don't think it's going to be a problem, man.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. For the record, I don't think it's going to be a problem either. I think they're going to dominate the regular season again. Heck, they might try to win 70 games this year because they're going to be upset about all the chatter.
I'm gonna end this segment in song. You need a man with sensitivity. You need KD, man, that'll give you money.
Oh my gosh, man.
I need a man that'll call you honey.
Ralph Tresman in the building.
Okay.
Ralph T in the building.
Yes. KD in the building. We're going to switch gears, guys. We're going to move on to one of you guys' favorite things in the world, NC2A football, okay? We have a couple of ranked teams this week that are locking horns, okay? Locking horn frogs, more like it. We have the number 16, Texas Christian University, okay? The Horned Frogs, they're 3-0. They're coming into Oklahoma State to face the Cowboys, who are also 3-0, okay? These guys have an amazing, efficient offense, one of the greatest in the nation. These guys are averaging 54 points a game, albeit against unranked teams. You have Heisman hopeful Mason Rudolph playing at an amazing clip without even playing in the fourth quarter yet. You have a budding star who was a true freshman last year, Justice Hill, emerging with Oklahoma State, having a nice rushing game. Okay, and you guys have the Horned Frogs. You have Kenny Hill, who's kind of been hit and miss a little bit, through 13 picks last year, through the first 2 games this year, and their defense is looking pretty solid. I need you guys to talk to me about who you guys think is going to win this week with TCU, Oklahoma State. I'm going to start with Javon in this segment. You have some good defensive backs. With Texas Christian University, you have Ranthony Texada, little undersized against a great offensive juggernaut. You have 5, different receivers with Oklahoma State averaging over 40 yards a game. Can they slow this offense down? Can TCU's defense impose their will? Can they get enough stops to win? What do you think about this game, Javon?
No, they can't. No way, shape, form, or fashion will they slow down the Oklahoma State Cowboy offense. Let me tell you this. We talk about the importance of having a veteran quarterback at every level of football.
Yes.
Whether it be high school, whether it be college, whether it be the NFL. Quarterback is the single most important position in sports because there's so many moving parts. There's so much required of the quarterback mentally and physically to be able to execute a great offense. Mike Gundy is a great offensive mind. He's a great coach. He's got a great mullet, and he's got a great quarterback in Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is a veteran. He's been around for years now. He understands that system to perfection. The Oklahoma State offense is a mixture of spread. It's a mixture of up-tempo. It's a mixture of run-pass options, which are really effective when Mason Rudolph is assessing the defense at the line of scrimmage. So I think there's something like 3 different options or 3 different plays that can be called based on the formation and based on the set that they have. Mason scans the defense and checks into the appropriate play.
Right.
Very difficult to stop an offense when you have a quarterback that's operating at that level when it comes to college football. So, and listen, TCU hasn't been shy on athletes. Texas is a huge state. There's enough talent there for teams like Baylor, TCU, University of Texas Longhorns, Oklahoma, which is not, of course, in Texas, but they get a lot of Texas players, as well as Oklahoma State. So that's very fertile recruiting ground. And TCU, they've got some athletes. They definitely have some athletes. But do they have what it takes to stop this juggernaut of an offense by Oklahoma State? Absolutely not. Mason Rudolph is simply too good. James Washington, potential first round draft pick there at the wideout. Great speed, great hands. And listen, they've got, as you mentioned, 4 receivers that are capable. I think they have 3 or 4 receivers that are averaging over 100 yards a game, or that have had 100-yard games.
Have had 100-yard games. Yep.
Yeah, they had 100-yard games. So there's absolutely no way TCU is going to be able to stop them. Now, I'll admit, and Kev can attest to this, we've been hit or miss with our college picks, but
Right.
I think this is as sure as it gets. Oklahoma State, this could be a magical year for them. I don't think they get truly tested until they have that Bedlam series with their arch rivals, the Oklahoma Sooners, and it'll be for all the marbles.
Yeah,
it'll
buddy.
be for all the marbles. Now, of course, there's a conference championship game in the Big 12 this year, but that game is going to be probably to see who advances to the conference championship from that side of the conference. So no way TCU is able to stop Oklahoma State. They'll score in the neighborhood of 40 to 50, and they'll keep it moving.
Okay, Kevin, look, we have a TCU, a blitz-happy defense. We have an unstoppable offense. We have Oklahoma State O-line that has a first-teamer, 2 second-teamers. Okay, is there any way that TCU, a team that has not beat Oklahoma State since they've been in the Big 12, does that trend continue?
It does, yeah. Oklahoma State in this game by 14. I think, what's the line? I think the line's 13. But I like Oklahoma State by 2 touchdowns. I won't rehash everything that Javon said. He covered everything on the offensive end. Obviously, Rudolph, James Washington, a great, and Des Bryant, he came from Oklahoma State too. James Washington reminds you of a young Des Bryant. Oklahoma State this year has a defense. They have a defensive line. Their front 7 is terrific. They've got at least 3 guys that will be playing NFL football. They can finally sub guys in and out. And remember, in the Big 12, pretty much all of the offenses that you're going to see in the Big 12, they go their quick pace. Okay, a lot of them don't huddle. They're right at the line of scrimmage. They're getting those calls from the sideline. Check with me's, after about 10 seconds off the game clock. Check with me, and then they're switching up plays. So you have to shuttle guys in and out fast, and you have to have at least 2 to 3 defensive lines that you can roll in and out. Same at your linebacker position when you're in the Big 12. You've got to have at least 3 units that you can run in and out of that football game because plays are coming fast. These guys are getting off 95 to 100 plays a game in the Big 12. It's just fast paced. I like Oklahoma State. I like their defense. They're a lot better than in years past. Remember, they've always been able to score. It's just the other side of the football. Can they get stops? And when you look at their front 7 this year, their back 4, very talented as well. I like Oklahoma State by 14 in this matchup. And again, I think it's going to come down to the Bedlam series. I think both teams have a great chance of being undefeated. Oklahoma, Texas. Does Oklahoma State, do they see Texas this year? I don't know if they see Texas this year.
I don't know if they see Texas this year.
I'd have to take a look at the schedule.
I know that
Texas Longhorns a dangerous team.
Very dangerous
team.
They looked a lot better, when
they're talented.
Right.
They're talented.
Only team that got rid of a Mac and got better. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I like Oklahoma State in this matchup by 14.
I like Oklahoma State by 42-21. I think they're going to score too much. I think they're going to wear them down. I don't think TCU. I think Kenny Hill, 2 of his 3 picks this year already. He's throwing in a double, triple coverage. His decision making isn't that good, and there's been too many lapses in the TCU defensive backs. Give up big chunks of yardage, and you got James Washington averaging 28 a catch. Okay, so I don't think it looks good for them. This is Warren Moon in the run and shoot. Okay, that's what this is. Moving on to the professional ranks, we have a struggling Seattle Seahawks offense limping in to Nissan Stadium in Nashville to face the Tennessee Titans, a young upstart team, a guy that reminds you of a Russell Wilson and a Mariota. Okay, the Seahawks, they've got 1 TD and 21 points total through the first 2 games. You have a rookie, Chris Carson, who's showing some promise at the running back. But they just have a horrible offensive line. They have no protection. You got Russell Wilson throwing the ball, chucking it 66 times a game. Come on. Your defense, you have a stout defense that only allows 13 a game. I need to know, we got to be kind of quick on this segment for the sake of time, but I want you guys' picks. I want to start with Kevin. Quickly address the Seahawks struggles, and do they go 1-2, or are they going to end up 2-1 after this game?
They're going to find a way to win this football game. I don't know if it's going to be on the offensive side of the ball. It comes down to money. It just comes down to contracts. Obviously, Seattle has decided. Remember, all these teams in the NFL, there's a salary cap, and you decide how you're going to build your team. And obviously, Seattle, because they have Russell Wilson and his ability to escape the rush, to elude defenders, to buy more time, they figure that, hey, we don't have to pay on the offensive line. We have a mobile quarterback. He's not going to just sit there in the pocket. So let's spend all our money on the defensive end. So when you look at it, I'm going to read some contracts really quickly. Okay, we have Richard Sherman, 4 years, $56 million. Cam Chancellor, 3 years, $36 million. Michael Bennett, 3 years, $31 million. Extension. Cliff Averill, 4 years, $28.5 million. Bobby Wagner, 4 years, $43 million. KJ Wright got paid, 4 years, $27 million. And then the Seahawks, their offensive line collectively is the lowest paid in the NFL. So the Seahawks, they just decided we're going to win this thing on defense. We're going to pay Russell Wilson his $100 million. We're not going to spend any more money on the offense. So all their money is on the defensive side. So if you're a defensive player, Richard Sherman, you can't complain about the offense not getting it done. Mm-hmm. Upper management paid all of you guys, because when your contracts came up, Cam Chancellor holds out for a new contract. When the contracts came up, okay, you guys back, hey, he needs to get paid. He needs to get paid. And everybody that you said needed to get paid is on the defensive end of the football. It left no money left for the offense. So I don't know if their offense is going to get any better. I do see them gutting out a close 21-17 victory on the road against Tennessee.
Okay, Javon, same question quickly. Address the Seahawks struggles, and can they get a victory against a tough Titan team?
So I see the Seattle Seahawks going down to Tennessee, and I see them losing. Even though Tennessee is going to have Corey Davis out, they're going to have your former favorite running back, Sean DeMarco Murray. He'll be out as well. I think Derrick Henry is going to have an opportunity to step in and carry the load. I think Marcus Mariota and that offense will find a way to get it done against that Seattle team. Quite simply, and I don't want to rehash what has already been said, but Kev said it eloquently. The offensive line of the Seattle Seahawks is one of the worst offensive lines in the past 5-6 years. If Russell Wilson wasn't so athletic and so elusive, he could be seriously hurt by now. I just don't understand how the front office could drift into the doldrums of such ineptitude by not paying for decent linemen. And I think they're truly dependent on the fact that, well, our defense will bail us out and Russell Wilson is mobile. But even a mobile quarterback can get touched up and get knocked out for the season. So the Seattle Seahawks, I don't see them improving offensively. I think it's going to be a struggle all year. Now, they could make some changes to the line, or maybe there could be some technique refinement. But if there isn't a major overhaul there, I don't see how that team is going to have a successful run in the NFC. Maybe they have enough to win the NFC West, but that's not really saying much when you figure that Arizona is taking a step back. The 49ers are obviously in rebuilding mode. Now, I do like Jared Goff and the LA Rams, who got a hard-fought victory tonight against San Francisco. But
well, you can get their tickets for the price of 2 pretzels.
So to answer your question, I don't think they win this game. I think the Tennessee Titans have got a good defense. I like the quarterback at home, and I like Derrick Henry to get some things done on the ground. So I've got the Titans 21, Seattle 13.
All right, fellas. I too have the Titans winning. I have Derrick Henry, the former Heisman Trophy winner, Alabama, doing work on the ground with a hobbled DeMarco Murray, struggling with the strained hamstring. The Titans defense forced 3 turnovers last week versus the Jaguars, and Russell Wilson can't take a 3-step drop. He got hit 16 times in the last 2 weeks, and he's running for his life. Guys, I think there's only one person to put on the bench this week, and that's Adelaide Byrd. Sit on the bench and take this verbal spanking. Your parents should be shamed. You should be ashamed of yourself. The Las Vegas Athletic Commission should be shamed once again. Odds makers, everybody's up in arms. Vegas won big. People asking for their bets back. Adelaide Byrd probably got some people knocked off over the weekend, okay? There's probably some people that got dusted off as a result of her ineptitude and bad judgment. She probably literally cost somebody their life in the native countries, Triple G. This is not a game, okay, in other circles, and you're playing with people's livelihoods. You're playing with millions of dollars, and you could be playing with lives with the kind of folks that we're dealing with in these promoters and shady people in Vegas. Adelaide Byrd, you deserve like a bird to be shot out of the air. You need to sit on the bench, not shot literally, but your boat has sailed. We need you not to judge another fight. I don't want to see you on ESPN Friday Night Fights. I don't want to see you on any fights. I don't want to see you in the Palisades. I don't want to see you judging a fight anywhere. I don't want to see you judging a blood sport fight with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I don't want to see you judging anything. Sit on the bench, be quiet, and just sit in solitude and think about how horrible of a judge you've been in big name fights and how the outcome was unfortunately determined by a silly bird. That's all we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. Episode 13 of Off the Bench. Our prayers go out to the people in Puerto Rico, the people in Florida, the people in Houston, the families in Mexico, people in Japan, all over the world with these earthquakes going on. Our prayers go out to you guys. I do want to say congratulations to T-Mac for entering into the NBA Hall of Fame, an all-time great player, an all-time great scorer, passer, great defender, and a 2-time scoring champion. Unfortunately, didn't have enough to win a championship, but a lot of great memories. Congratulations to you, Mr. Tracy McGrady. Loved watching you play. Until next time, thank you on behalf of Kevin Cornegay, Javon Tavares, and myself. You guys be blessed out there.